Awesome. Okay, so we're 1 minute past the hour, and I'm gonna start right away since I want to finish. I know we have the whole hour scheduled, but I want to finish within 45 minutes. I know everybody's busy those days, so I want to give you back as much time as possible, and of course, answer all of your questions. Talking about questions, I see that I already have one in the chat. So let's talk a bit about some housekeeping items. First thing first, I just hope that everybody's staying safe at home. I know it's not the prettiest time out there, and I hope everybody's just staying safe and using this time to spend more time with your family at home and, of course, to study either for your general skills or for Microsoft certifications. This webinar will be recorded, so if you ever have to drop in the middle for an emergency or anything like that, yes, this webinar will be recorded and will be emailed to everybody that has registered, as well as slides and other resources. During the webinar, you'll see that in the slides, I have a ton of links to different resources. And I know that when you're watching a webinar, it's not really that easy to actually copy paste them from the screen. So don't worry. I will really email all of this to you guys tomorrow, the recording, the slides, and the resources. And also, please ask all of your questions. I really want to be here to be able to answer any questions you might have about certifications. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A module. So you can click on it, you can ask questions, and I will do my best to answer all of them. My goal is really to get all of them answered. But as I don't have a moderator, I'm going to look left and right at the screen, so it might take a bit of time, but we're going to get to all of them. So let's get started. Before we get into Microsoft 365, let's start covering a bit the fundamentals of Microsoft certifications. First of all, Microsoft certifications go way back. I know a lot of people, and maybe even a lot of you on the call today, there is Microsoft certifications back in the NT4 days in the year 2000. My first personal certification was actually in 2008, and it was a Microsoft Vista certification. Looking back now in retrospect, it was not the most successful operating system out there, but that's my first certification. I'm still really proud of it. But something that really changed over the years is that Microsoft certifications used to be role-based. What does used to be product-based, excuse me. So Microsoft certification, you would get certified on a product. So you see here on the left, I have one of my certifications for SharePoint. On the right here, I have one of the newer badges that are the badges on your acclaim that you get when you get certified nowadays, and it's for Windows Server 2012. So you would really get certified on a specific product. But Microsoft actually changed all of that in early 2019 or late 2018, and they have added what is now called role-based certification. I actually see somebody here from the chat, hey Ralph, that the first MCP was in the 90s, and Ralph here in the chat is the 1,613th person to ever get a certification. Wow, that's early. That's really early. But getting back here to our content, Microsoft now has role-based certification. So what does that mean that we're switching from product to role-based? What Microsoft did, especially now with the cloud and Microsoft 365, even if we used to be a SharePoint on-prem administrator before, or maybe an Exchange Online administrator, now with the cloud, we have so many tools that we have to manage, and each administrator kind of took out more roles. So SharePoint admin now probably also manages Yammer, Stream, Planner, and other products in the suite. An Exchange Online admin might now manage not only Exchange Online, but groups as well. And Skype for Business administrators that only did, Skype for Business administration on-prem now also need to learn SharePoint, because with Teams, a lot of the content is in SharePoint and Exchange and OneDrive for Business. So it didn't really make sense to have all of those product-specific certifications anymore. And that's where we switched to a role. Actually, all of the old certifications that we had, and we're going to look at everything Microsoft 365 in this webinar, but all of the old certifications will expire on June 30th, 2020. So if you have one of the old MCSA, MCSD, or MCSC certifications, which is the Microsoft Certified Solution Expert, not Solution Engineer, which some of you might also have, that was early in the years 2000s, all of those will expire and everything will switch to the role-based certifications. In the new model, there's actually 3 levels of certifications. Microsoft splits that into 3. I like to split that into 4. So if we look at the way that Microsoft kind of explains it, we have the fundamental certifications. So the fundamentals validate foundational understanding of Microsoft technologies and is optimal for getting started. So what that means for the foundational ones is that they're really about, do you understand what Microsoft 365 is? Do you understand in general what are the benefits of the cloud and why the cloud is more advantageous over on-prem? So it's really foundation. They're not made to be super technical. So somebody in the technical pre-sales department maybe, or stuff like that, could take them. Then we have the role-based certification, which is here Microsoft puts them into only one category, but in the role-based you actually have 2 levels. And the role-based certifications is where we get really technical, because here we have all of the PowerShell, all of the admin centers, all of that fun stuff. And you have the first level, which is associate, and the second level, which is expert. And lastly, we have the specialty exams. The specialty exams, we don't actually have any in the Microsoft 365 suite, but to give you an example of what a specialty exam might be, is the newly released Azure one, which is SAP on Azure. So you really get a certification on something very specific. You don't have a role that does that. You don't have really, your most common Azure admin will not have SAP on Azure. So this is why they put those really expert level unique certifications in the specialty category, and that category is only a few months old. But now let's start going into our Microsoft 365 certifications, and this is the high-level overview. So at a high-level overview for Microsoft 365, you have a total of 12 exams and 8 certifications. Some certifications require more than one exam. So you can see a few of them here in the second column at the top require 2 exams as well as the expert one. And some certifications also have prerequisites. So let me get the laser here so I can show you guys better. So if you look at the Enterprise Administrator Expert certification here, you cannot get it unless you have one of those prerequisites. So really, it's not only one exam, one certification. It can be a bit more complicated than that. So let's take a look at the exams more in detail, and let's start with the Microsoft 365 Certified Fundamentals. So remember, fundamentals is the easy one. So this exam is designed for candidates looking to demonstrate foundational knowledge on considerations and benefits of adopting cloud services in general. So again, fundamentals is not deep technical. You don't need to know how to deploy anything. You just need to know, okay, if I want to store files somewhere in Microsoft 365, what tool should I use? Kind of those kind of things. Or what is the difference between infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service? And I need to be able to identify, okay, you want to migrate an infrastructure as a service workload to the Microsoft stack. What tool would you migrate that to? Azure, uh, Office 365, or Power Platform? So those kind of questions. I see I have a question here from Ray. But Ray, I'm trying to keep the webinar on Microsoft 365 certification. The question is about Azure Administrator certifications. If we have time, we're going to get to that Azure one at the end. I acknowledge your question, but we're really going to get to it at the end if we have a bit of time. And I hope that's okay with you. Now let's go back to our slides, and for the MS900, so for the Microsoft 365 fundamentals, you only need one single exam, which is the MS900. So one exam, one certification, pretty easy. And I've already talked a bit about the sample skills that are covered. I put some of them here in the slides, but as you can see, super easy stuff. I'm not going to say super easy. You still need to know the different parts of Microsoft 365. You need to know, let's say, the difference between Azure Information Protection, Microsoft Cloud App Security. So you still need to know what are all of the differences, what are all of the services in Microsoft 365, but you don't need to know how to actually configure them. Another cool thing about all fundamental exams is that they are all cheaper. So whether you look for the MS900, which is the Microsoft 365 fundamentals, or some of the other series, like for example, the Azure exams, they have about 40 exams for Azure, but they do have an Azure fundamentals exam as well. It's $99 as well. So it's a lot cheaper than all other certifications. Also something really funny, and this is actually to answer Ralph's question from the chat. I don't know why, but all of the fundamental level exams are the 900 series, and then the expert level ones are 100. You would usually think that fundamentals would be level 100 and then it would go all the way up to expert to 900, but no, 900 series is fundamentals and everything else is either associate or expert. And to answer another question from Kim in the questions mark, is MS900 and AZ900 the same? So they are different exams that will give you different certifications, but they occupy the same role in their respective packs. So MS900 is the fundamentals exam for Microsoft 365, while AZ900 is the fundamentals exams for Azure. Different exam, different certification, but completely different content and everything. But yeah, they're both fundamentals. So all of the 900 series, MS900, AZ900, you also have one for Power Platform that actually just went out of beta a few weeks ago. So that's the PL900 for Power Platform, are all fundamentals, but different content, different certifications. Now Microsoft also promotes a learning path. So whenever we talk about resources, and this will I'll spend a bit more time on it the first time that we actually cover this, and after that we're only going to cover the fundamentals for the next ones. But all Microsoft exams have classroom training. So if you want to get, and we call this instructor-led training, so ILT. If you want to get an instructor to teach you live, Microsoft offers a course bundle. So we call them Microsoft official courses or MOOCs. And you can get this training at a Microsoft certified learning partner. Some of the popular ones include Global Knowledge, New Horizons, so those are some of the huge ones. But each big city has their own local ones. You don't need to go to the big ones. Most of the smaller ones will give you the exact same quality. And all trainers need to be Microsoft certified trainers who passed the certification in order to teach it. So if you want to get Microsoft official training, you would look for the course number MS900T01. That's the course ID you need to look for. And for fundamentals is usually only a one-day course. For some exams, Microsoft also gives you free online training. So you see here in the learning pad that I have here, you can find you also have like the quick link here at the top, the aka.ms. But for some of the exams, they have free online training. You see here 4 hours of training split into 9 different modules that cover a lot of the content of the exam. So if we look at other resources for the MS 900, first of all, you have the free, I didn't put the short link in here, but you're going to be able to just copy paste it from the slides. The link to the Microsoft 365 fundamentals videos. You also have the option of getting training for Pluralsight, which is online on-demand content. So really, really you can listen to it in 10 minutes at a time, 20 minutes at a time, whenever you want. But that is a paid offering. So really, I find the quality on most Pluralsight content better than the free one on Microsoft. That's my opinion. I'm a bit biased since I'm a Pluralsight author, so I'm not hiding that fact, but it does go through a lot of reviews and it's always mostly up to date. If you prefer to learn by reading books, and I know there's many types of learners out there, there is a book for the exam ref. So simply search for exam ref MS900. So, and then you can find, you'll find the official book for it. And I also have a study guide here. And actually, let me just go to this demo really quick, and I'll show you guys kind of the study guide, which should be the easiest way. Let's see, did I crash PowerPoint? Okay, no, it's opening over here. This is on my blog, and I actually compiled most of the stuff in the slides. So you have the links to the book, to the video training, including both Pluralsight and the free one, the link to the instructor-led course. So if you want to go on it here, and then you have the course details, and you can easily find a classroom training partner, as well as different articles for each objective. So if you want to, let's say, study by only looking at Microsoft documentation, you really have the different links for each objective here. And this might be useful after you studied everything to just go over it, validate, look at what's covered in that documentation and be like, hey, I know this, I am good to go. Now let me go further to the next one. The next certification we're going to talk about is the Microsoft 365 Certified Modern Desktop Administrator Associate. So if we look at what this certification is, this is not really a Windows Server certification, but it replaces some of the Windows Server certifications. So Microsoft right now said you're not going to have a Windows Server 2019 cert, or we're not going to have a SQL Server 2019 certification. So really what this is made of 2 exams, And what it will test you on is, first of all, deploying Windows 10. So really all of the Windows 10 deployment, customization. If I have any Windows people on here, you're going to remember all of the uh, deployment files, SCCM, Windows Autopilot, and all of this fun stuff, and how to manage modern desktops. So you need to get those 2 exams to actually get that certification. And if we look at some of the skills that are covered, like I said before, deploying Windows 10, configuring the browser, configuring Windows Hello, authentication stuff, deploying some GPOs for that first configuration, as well as more advanced things such as deploying Office 365 Pro Plus, implementing and managing mobile application management, so using Intune and things like that. So it's a really technical exam. So you need to know how to go manage GPOs, how to deploy Windows, how to deploy applications on your users' desktops or mobile phones. So it's really technical, but it's really for everybody that manages systems administration. So really deploy Windows 10, manage applications, and things like that. With all of the associate level exams and higher, we're talking a bit more money. So you need 2 certifications. So you need 2 certifications for that. You need 2 exams for that certification. I need to stop looking at the questions pane and my slides at the same time. I'm sorry. But yeah, you need 2 exams for that certification, and they're $165 each. So you're talking here about $320 to actually get those. So a bit more expensive. As for Microsoft official courses, uh, as you can see here, and let me get my laser back, you have one Microsoft official course, and those are 4 or 5 days courses. So because we're talking a lot more technical stuff, it's a lot longer in person as well. So you have a 4 or 5 day course for the first exam and a 4 or 5 day course for the second exam. Now you might find certain training partners that actually do them more intensely. So they really do longer days and package them up in shorter amount of time, or they have maybe both of them in, let's say, 6 days, and the 7th day you have the exam. So you have all sorts of combinations on how this can be done depending on the learning partner. But in a normal course environment, you should plan about 10 days for the official training for this. Again, I have resources here, the Microsoft free stuff, the Pluralsight packs, as well as the 2 different books. I have a question here from Starkey. What is your opinion regarding skillmeup.com? So I know some great people that do content as well on skillmeup.com. I haven't used it personally, to be honest. So I haven't listened to any courses on there, so I can't give you an honest review. But I know some of the trainers that do content there, and they're really amazing people. So I think it's a really good training resource to look at as well. So yeah, I didn't include it because it's bad. I didn't include it because I haven't listened to any courses on there and it didn't come up to my mind, but there's a ton of other resources out there. I'm putting some of my short list that I listened to, at least in part, but yeah, LinkedIn Learning might also have some content. Uh, LinkedIn Learning, and this is a personal opinion, LinkedIn Learning does an amazing job at soft skills, at digital literacy, at a lot of the marketing and sales stuff. I mean, I've learned MailChimp, I've learned Photoshop, I've learned Camtasia on LinkedIn Learning. Some of their very deep technical content I personally found a bit weak. They don't go into much more details than docs, so I was a bit disappointed on technical content on LinkedIn Learning. but I know for a lot of you, it's included for free if you have LinkedIn Premium. So if you have LinkedIn Premium, go take a look and see what they have as well. Now let's go to the next one, which is the Messaging Administrator Associate. So Messaging Administrator is really for my Exchange people out there. Messaging is really for people that deploy, configure, monitor, and manage the messaging infrastructure, client access, mail protection, mail flow, and all of this stuff. 2 exams needed again, so you need to have both the MS200 and MS201. So you need to know how to manage, and this is something that a lot of MCTs do not necessarily agree on, but for the MS, so for the Microsoft Exchange series, so the Messaging Administrator, and the Teamwork series, which is SharePoint and collaboration tools that we're going to talk on in just a bit, you need to know both online and on-prem versions. So you see here I have my first one, which is planning and configuring a messaging platform, which is really about Exchange Online. But then I have the second one, which is, you see here, a really keyword, hybrid. So in order to get those certifications, you do need to know both online and on premises. So really important to keep that in mind. Again, 2 exams, 2 times $165, so about $330 total. And if we look at the official training for this, some of the certification exams, they actually did a more weird split in the official courses. So you see for the MS200, I actually have 3 different Microsoft official courses, and they're each 2-day long. So we're talking about 6 days for the first exam and 4 days for the second exam, but we're still at about 10 days total. So that's kind of what you should expect for most advanced certifications. Now, let me move on to the next one, which is the Teamwork Administrator certification. Let me get the laser out of your guys' faces. Teamwork is really for us SharePoint people. How many SharePoint people do I have in the webinar? Just writing something in the chat. I personally come from a SharePoint background, so there we go. I see the chat is on fire, and SharePoint for the win, right? There we go. So this is where it's going to get really interesting for a lot of the SharePoint people in here, and I love to see that chat on fire. So the first option we have for us SharePoint people is the Microsoft 365 Certified Teamwork Administrator Associate. So remember, we're not only talking SharePoint anymore, we're really talking role-based. So the Microsoft 365 Teamwork Administrator configures, deploys, and manages Office 365 workloads that focus on collaboration. So SharePoint Online, on-prem, and hybrid, OneDrive, and Teams. If we look at some of the skills covered, and this again is you need 2 exams to actually pass the certification. The first one is the MS300, which is deploying Microsoft 365 Teamwork, and it covers SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, Microsoft Teams, and workload integrations. Now, workload integrations is really the most weird name that I think they could find for a topic. They didn't know where to dump everything else that they wanted to cover, so they created a workload integration category. But what you're going to find in there, if you go into details, is Stream, Yammer, Power Automate, Power Apps, Delve. So all of the other smaller collaboration applications inside Office 365. And then you also need to have the MS301. So MS301, and again, this has caused a bit of a blocker for some people because in order to get the certification, you need to pass both of them. And MS-301 covers SharePoint on premises, so installing and configure SharePoint 2019, hybrid scenarios, so configuring SharePoint hybrid, hybrid cloud search, hybrid profiles, hybrid MMS, hybrid OneDrive for Business and things like that, as well as SharePoint migration. So really, uh, you need to master both online and on-prem in order to get the final certification. Some resources to study, and I'm going to add a bit more in here before I send it to you guys. There is no free Microsoft certification, so they haven't recorded anything, unfortunately. You can find Pluralsight. There's about 12 hours of content out there already for the MS300, so you have a learning path for it. And you have the study guides again, where you have 3 links for each exam objective that you can find. Let me just take a look at the questions here. Ralph, I'm gonna get to you, including the MS 100, 300, 900 from confusion. We're gonna get to that, no problem. And we're gonna get to a lot of the other questions, but yeah, I'm looking at it. Don't worry, we're gonna answer all of them. Great. Now let's move on to the Security Administrator Associate. So the Security Administrator Associate is a new certification. So DAX, it's one that didn't really have a on-prem equivalent. It's really for everything security throughout Office 365. So identity and access, threat protection, information protection, governance and compliance features in Microsoft 365. So really think of it as sensitivity labels, classification labels, a DLP, e-discovery, in-place hold. So all of those security features in Office 365 that will apply to, of course, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive for Business, Exchange Online are covered in this exam. Now, this is an exam which I have not taken yet. It's something that I would really, really love to do since, as you guys know, security is it's a huge topic today. So I'd really love to learn more about it. I haven't had time to get to it yet, but it's something that I'm really interested in. There are 4 Microsoft official courses on it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. And Microsoft also gives some free training on this. Unfortunately, it's only about 3-4 hours of training. There's a lot of content in there. I haven't watched it personally, so I really cannot tell you how good it is. But it's great that it's free, and you should definitely watch it, even if you want to get certified or not. And this is the link that you're going to get in the slides. And yes, just so I can answer as I see more questions in the chat and Q&A, I will be sending the recording and the slides by email, probably by tomorrow, end of day. Now we're getting into the 600 series with the Microsoft 365 Certified Developer Associate. Do I have any devs in here? You know how I come from the IT pro side of things, right? And we always have the IT pro and developer wars. So I know it's not such as popular anymore as it used to be back in the day, but I'm still going to say it. This is the certification for people that like to break things into Office 365. So for all of you guys breaking things, this is the certification for you. And I'm sure I'm going to get a bit of IT pro fun back in the chat. But this is a new certification as well. Just came out of beta a few weeks ago. And what you need to, and this is only one exam, so they made it super easy. It's the MS600, Building Applications and Solutions with Microsoft 365 core services. So you need to know how to manage Microsoft Identity for your apps, so your Azure AD applications, how to extend and customize SharePoint, Teams, Office, as well as create apps with the Microsoft Graph. You have a 5-day official Microsoft course on it. So again, it's brand new. It should be up to date. And you also have you have a 50-minute course that I heard it's amazing. I'm an IT pro, so I haven't watched it, but I heard it's a really, really amazing course. So definitely watch it over there. But this makes it a lot easier since there's only one exam to pass and you get the certification. However, this, and as we're going to get soon into the expert level certification for Microsoft 365 is called Microsoft 365 Administrator Expert. So this one is the only one that I showed you so far that is not a valid prerequisite for the expert one. So if you pass this one, all of the other ones are valid, but not this one. For the developer, there is no expert level certification. Associate is, or administrator, well, associate, I guess, for devs is where it ends at. And now another cool new kid on the block is Microsoft Teams. Now you might ask yourself, but Vlad, don't we have Microsoft Teams in the teamwork one already? Yes. So what is the difference between the teamwork one and the Teams administrator one? So I have done both of the certifications. The Teams one I have done just 2 weeks ago, so it's really fresh for me. For the teamwork one, you're really going to be evaluated on the collaboration side of things. So you're going to be evaluated. Do you know how to manage the integration with SharePoint and Teams? Do you know how to manage channels, manage channel permissions, manage private channels, create teams, difference between an org-wide team, a private visible team, and a private not visible team? Whereas for the Teams administrator, the big part, and that's really tough, chat calling and meetings. So this is all of your voice policies. So what is the caller queue? What is the caller policy? How many auto attendants do you need to set up depending on what scenarios do you want to have? So it's really a lot more in depth, only specific about Microsoft Teams. It's a really difficult exam, to be honest, as somebody that comes from the SharePoint world, because a lot of the questions I was like, I've never implemented a PBX before in my life. And probably if somebody that did Skype for Business all of their life actually saw that question, they'd be like, that's super easy. But for somebody coming from the SharePoint world, that was quite complicated. You have one official course, which is the MS 700T, and you also have 5 hours of content. You can see that Microsoft really cares about Teams, and it's really recent, again, only not even a few months old, that you can watch for free. And I have added the links to the free certification as well as the study guide. I see that we have 20 minutes remaining, so I'll try to finish the last one in 10 minutes, so then I can go over all of the questions. The last one, which is the top certification that you can get in the Microsoft 365 certified, in the Microsoft 365 category, is the Enterprise Administrator Expert. So, and I'll kind of answer some of the questions from the chat at the same time. And I have this super complicated slide over here that will really get a lot less complicated in 4 months when some of the old certifications drop. But MS100 and MS101 are the most advanced ones. So they manage Microsoft 365 identity and services and mobility and security. You need to actually have a prerequisite before being able to get the certification. Can you get can you go past the exams before taking the prerequisites? Yes, absolutely, but you're not going to get the certification. If you want to get the certification, you either need to have the Modern Desktop Administrator Associate, Teamwork Administrator Associate, Messaging Administrator Associate, Security, or Teams, which is not here, but it's a valid prerequisite. Actually, never mind. It's here. They put it at the end. Or your if you already have your MCSC productivity solution expert, so if you have this old certification, it's 3 years old, but I guess with the cloud now it's pretty old. If you have the productivity solutions expert, that counts as a valid prerequisite. So if you have that one, you can go get MS 100 101 and get the certified enterprise administrator expert. Now I had an interesting question from Ralph in the chat. If I go and pass the MS 100 and 101, do I still need to go and, let's say, get the teamwork ones? Honestly, so if you have the MCSE productivity solution expert and then you have those two, you're the top certification. So do you have to do it? No. However, it really depends on what the goal of certifications is for you. For me personally, I like to get certified as it forces me to study on something. So it really forces me to go in depth, be able to put up a lab and say, okay, what are all of the things that I haven't done yet at a client that I should maybe try out, that I need to learn more about? And that forces me to study. So in a way, I would tell you that yes, even if you can go kind of this way and get it, it would still be interesting for you to go and take the lower level ones. So go and take one of those administrator associate exams, but you do not have to. A question from Ignacio in the chat. If I have done those two, no. So I was actually scheduled to take them at Ignite because they were for free. So I was really excited to save $320. But I actually had scheduled myself at Ignite 5 different exams. I have passed 3 of them, so I'm happy about that one. But after that, after I did 3 exams already, I didn't have the brain power anymore to actually go do the other 2 ones. So they're on my to-do list for this year. I had 4 Microsoft certifications on my personal to-do list for this year. They were the PL900, which I passed, MS700, which I passed, and those 2 are the next ones that I'm interested in. Now, we still have some time, so let me go and answer some of the questions from the chat. First of one, and I'll go to the MS300, and we're going to use, actually, no, let me go to the MS900 one as it has more content, so I can show you guys a bit more how to get more information after the webinar. So easiest way to find an exam, you just search the exam code on Google or on Bing or whatever search engine you use, and they're all on docs.microsoft.com now. Here you will see that, okay, I have this exam. It's part of the requirements for Microsoft 365 Certified Fundamentals, so you can see the certification path that I showed you. If you want to go see in detail what are all of the different skills required, you have the download exam skills outline, and which will open a PDF for you basically that goes into detail for all of the skills that you need. So what will the exam cover? And you have 2 ways to prepare. Some of them only have one. You have the online free one and the instructor-led paid one, which will bring you to the course that we have talked about in the slides. And now another interesting question from my good friend Kevin here in the chat, talking about how to schedule an exam online, since I know that a lot of the exams centers are now closed. So let me just go take one, which I haven't done yet, the MS-100. So I'll go for the MS-100. You would go to schedule exams. You, of course, need to be logged in with your Microsoft account. And if you're not lucky like me, it seems my Chrome is bugged out. So I actually had a incognito window over here. So let me just go back here, certifications. Let me just try it. I'll go to the expert certifications. No, there we go. It's right here. I didn't click fast enough. Whereas Microsoft 365, yes, bring me to one of the exams, MS-100, schedule. And while this loads, it takes, I don't know why it takes so long to load. It will validate everything. That address is not up to date anymore, so you guys cannot mail me, unfortunately. But a tip that I will give you to actually schedule proctored exams, if you have a laptop that has nothing on it that you never use, that's the one that you should use. Because they actually will look at what are all of the different services running. They will actually require you to have a camera, and you need to go around the room so they can make sure that you're alone in the room, that you don't have any sheets or books or things like that. So try to go into the emptiest room in your house with the most vanilla laptop that you have. This way, that will be the easiest option. And here, when I get to the schedule part, you pick at my home or office. And this is how you kind of start the at home or office. It will run a pre-check. I have actually never done it because I'm not going to do it because it might break some of the audio settings. Well, audio settings because I'm presenting on the webinar at the same time, not for any other reason. But yeah, try to use a vanilla laptop. I've heard people that had a bunch of trouble because the proctor, you still have somebody looking at you, like somebody looking at you. So it's not like you're doing it from home and there's nobody watching, you can cheat. They're intense. They will look around your camera, they will stare at you, they will make sure you don't look left or right. They will shut down any system process you might have, so you cannot cheat on them. And I hope, Kevin, that gives you kind of a starting point to get started for at-home exams. And let me see here. Let's go through the chat. Let's see what I have already answered. Here, skill me up. Sample testing. And this is why I wanted to go to the MS-900 here. Some exams actually have, and let me see where I can find it here. I'll just search for practice. Aha. You see here at the bottom, I have an official practice test that you can buy. So some of the exams have them, some of the exams don't. I have never actually bought it, but the reviews really don't look any good, to be honest. So this is the official one. I'm not sure how good it is. So I really can't tell you much on how good they are, unfortunately. Question again from the chat. How do we practice for on-prem content? I would have to say it's really tough right now because if you do an Azure VM trial, especially in this time period, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but Microsoft said they're going to start not provisioning stuff for trial accounts because they need all of the horsepower they have for production resources. So for Azure VM trials and credits, it might be a bit tougher than usual in this time period, but that would be the best way to go most of the time. If not, try to go on paid Azure, but remember to shut it down. If not, it's going to cost you thousands. Let's see, what else do I have in the chat? Okay, what if I had Microsoft Certified Solution Expert, Cloud Platform and Infrastructure, but not productivity? So that is for the MS100 requirements. So let me go to not MS100, but for the Microsoft 365 Certified Enterprise Administrator. And unfortunately, you see here is not a valid prerequisite, unfortunately. So if you have the cloud platform and infrastructure, you cannot go to Microsoft 365. If I remember correctly, that is a prerequisite for Azure Architect. Or is it? Is it not? Let me try to go here. No. So yeah, I'm sorry, Mohit. I hope I pronounced it right, but that one will not uh, will will not help you for the M365 track. Another question for VMs, can you build the VMs on Windows 10 or something like that? Yes, you can always build a VM on Windows 10. You have Hyper-V. Just make sure that you have enough RAM. I've actually invested quite a bit in my desktops and laptops. I have 32 gigs on my desktop, 64 gigs on my laptop, so I can run VMs. But yeah, if you have the resources, on-prem is definitely the cheapest option. This is it. I think I have answered all of the different questions in the chat. Like I said, and like I promised, I will send you guys all of the different resources, slides, and recording by end of the day tomorrow, so by March 25th. So, and if you ever have any questions, never hesitate to reach out to me via my blog. You can find me on Twitter. I still have the one here that got blocked. So twitter.com, Vlad Catrinescu, on my blog at vladtalkstech.com, or simply add me on LinkedIn. Again, the name is Vlad Catrinescu. Any questions you have, please reach out to me. I would be more than happy to answer. And thank you. And one last question I see from Kevin here before we go. This way I don't skip Kevin. If you're a SharePoint admin, which is the best certification for you? That would be either the Teamwork certification, so MS 300 and 301, so deploying Microsoft 365 Teamwork here for the Teamwork Associate, or if not, for the MS 700 for the Teams Administrator. And another question from Ricardo on how long do you have to take exams? That will depend on the exam, but most of the time you have about 2 hours to actually do it. Well, that is it, everybody. Thank you very much. I managed to finish 5 minutes beforehand, so I'm really happy about that. But thank you very much, everybody, for attending. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My goal is here to, I want to help you guys get certified, see the values in them, and of course, get trained in general. So reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer. And have a great week, everybody.